With the reveal of Fallout 76, it seems like a lot of the people that consistently were comparing Fallout 4 to New Vegas and arguing which was the better game disappeared overnight, and they became Fallout 76 haters or fanboys, depending on which side of the aisle you chose. Well, in today's video, paying tribute to that original crowd, what I'm hoping to do is give you guys some mods that's going to make Fallout 4 feel noticeably more like New Vegas. I've done similar things in the past. I actually made a full video that shows you how to get the NCR back in Fallout 4 in some way, shape, or form. That's actually a pretty cool video. It's a great tandem to this one, so if you want to watch it after, I'll have it linked in the description. But the focus I've had in a lot of those other videos is on things, new weapon mods, new armor mods to actually make the game feel a bit different, and in this video, I'm not going for that. Today I'm going to be showing you 8 mods that change aspects of the gameplay, of the world space. Some even incorporating new features into Fallout 4 that were once in New Vegas. If you guys are looking for a list of weapons, just look up Deadpool 2099 on Nexus. In this video, I'm going for more of a different approach. So the first mod that's pretty much always going to be the backbone of lists like this is Dustball Overhaul. What it's going to do is overhaul the Commonwealth and kind of make it look like a desert. This mod's a little bit over a year old at this point, but it is still by far the best option for load orders like this to try and really bring that New Vegas experience into Fallout 4. I've actually covered it numerous times on this channel in the past, and I think you guys kind of get the idea. Now there's going to be less trees, almost no foliage, and Fallout 4 is going to look way more deserty. In addition, there's kind of a tandem mod going along with this, Tumblestein's Weathers, that, as you could guess, is going to change the weathers. Dust storms are going to be a pretty major component of your game now, and unlike with Fallout 4's vanilla weathers, it's really going to affect you. You're going to have very limited visibility and going to have to kind of adjust your playstyle as a result. Dustball Overhaul is something you probably have known about, so I'll be fairly brief with it, but either way, if you're trying to get the New Vegas look and feel, it's going to be a cornerstone of that. Then we have what is literally a brand new mod only coming out yesterday, and what it's going to be called is the Damage Threshold Framework. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the armor system worked quite distinctively different. It used a value known as a damage threshold. So what a damage threshold more or less means is, depending on what kind of armor you do have on, your character will be assigned a set DT. That's going to be the damage threshold, and depending on how much damage different weapons do, the damage threshold is going to be a flat subtractor. So let's say you're in a full set of power armor and somebody runs up to you with a pipe pistol shooting only 38 rounds, you're going to probably negate almost all of their damage. They will do literally next to nothing because your damage threshold is so high, and the pipe pistol's damage threshold, their kind of piercing damage, is so low. To really visualize this, I'm showing you guys a Raider with some armor on. I have one shotgun with normal rounds and an alternative one that actually does have armor piercing rounds. As you can see, I get a little icon on screen as I actually pierce through the damage threshold. One of the particularly cool parts about this mod is it's actually going to be fully integrated into the base game and even into mods. It was created to be part of the larger mod Fallout 4 New Vegas, and you're now going to have an optional modification to some of the existing weapons in Fallout 4 to actually get armor piercing rounds. And you're going to have to use a specific and new kind of ammo type to take advantage of this. If you're a fan of the older games, you'll probably like this change. I think it makes things make a lot more sense in the armor spectrum. I feel like I have a better understanding of how my armor will work, and I really do like the functionality, how it is kind of integrated into all weapon and armor mods if you want to use it that way. Be Exceptional is a mod that I've shown you quite a few times on this channel at this point, and if you somehow missed it all those other times, what this is going to do is actually bring back skills and perk points in the New Vegas and Fallout 3 style. In Fallout 4, we of course got an overhaul to this, changing it into kind of a special tree where you have to go down, but in New Vegas and Fallout 3, it was, I think, a little bit better. So this mod's going to more or less take all the perks in Fallout 4's vanilla system and transcribe them to this new system. The perks are a little bit more obvious. It is pretty similar to how perks used to work. There's actually a few new perks thrown in there as well, but the skills are not nearly as obvious. Now as you level up, you're going to get a certain amount of skill points, and there's actually perks that will affect this, as well as your intelligence affects that. And for a lot of the different crafting cutoffs, like needing Gun Nut 2, instead of you having to take the Gun Nut perk, you're just going to have to rank up rifles or pistols to a certain level. I personally really like this change because it always felt pretty crappy having to take Gun Nut because you just had to dump points into it every single playthrough. Now, in addition to actually getting bonuses to the damage rifles, pistols, or science weapons do, you'll also be unlocking higher tier mods to actually use on some of those different pieces of equipment. So in a fairly simple one that you may have seen throughout this video as I've shown some of the other gameplay, classic V.A.T.S is going to bring back V.A.T.S, but it's going to pause the game when you enter into V.A.T.S. In Fallout 4, for whatever reason, they made the executive decision to make it so V.A.T.S is no longer frozen, but instead now time just slows down as you use it. Some people like that, a lot of people don't, and of course if you're trying to get the Fallout New Vegas experience, you're going to want V.A.T.S to be frozen again. It is honestly therapeutic because I remember in times past, I would enter into V.A.T.S when I wanted to pause the game for whatever reason, and you could do that again. Obviously now it's going to give you a lot more time to think about the shots you're going to take and kind of evaluate your situation. I know a lot of people used to really panic use V.A.T.S and maybe that's why they made the change, but hey, now you have the option to have that back and it's going to feel a lot more like 3 and New Vegas. This one might be a little bit more controversial. To get that Fallout New Vegas style UI back into Fallout 4, I actually use a mod called Pleasant UI. There are various mods that are a more direct recreation of the Fallout New Vegas UI, but I feel like the Pleasant UI actually is a good middle ground between what New Vegas did right and implementing some of the new things in Fallout 4. Again, these types of things are pretty subjective. There are a bunch of different New Vegas UI mods out there, many of them actually taking advantage of the Def UI framework. At the end of the day, as you could probably guess, they're all very similar. I personally prefer Pleasant UI over most of those other alternatives. And if you like the way my HUD looks throughout this video, then this is going to be the mod you want to download because it's the HUD mod I'm using. It definitely is way more similar to what we had in New Vegas. And I think in general, it just kind of declutters the screen a bit. In Fallout 4, the HUD was way more in your face. A lot of the different things were kind of enlarged to make the game almost feel a bit easier. While New Vegas's HUD is way more reserved, pushed to the corners, so the center part of your screen is largely just for seeing the world. Maybe Bethesda did that intentionally because they realized what they were showing wasn't all that good. So we have modern W replacers and specifically the service R Redux. So what this mod is going to do is actually take all the instances of the combat rifle and assault rifle in Fallout 4 and replace them with the service rifle Redux done by Deadpool 2099. I personally adore mods like this because I think many of Fallout 4's vanilla ballistic weapons are pretty egregious. I hate the assault rifle and I hate the combat rifle. I think they're ugly and they're just lazily made. The service rifle Redux on the other hand is an extremely awesome and expansive mod. It has a ton of customization options and a ton of cool and unique features, like having to go and get certain magazines to actually unlock certain modification options for it. In addition, there is just, again, a ton of customization options. You could have a broken down version, a super high tech and marksman looking version, or the traditional service rifle you saw in Fallout New Vegas. It really is quite a spectacular mod, and if you're like me and really vehemently against the assault rifle and combat rifle, this is going to be a great way to replace them with something noticeably better. So among all of that, you know what you need? A follower. Someone to take by your side that is more fitting to the Fallout New Vegas aesthetic. Well, for that, we actually have the AutomatronSecuritron. So of course, this is actually going to require the Automatron DLC or the robot DLC, and you're going to have to be able to craft robots. But now, one of the robots you're actually going to be able to craft is a Securitron that did appear in Fallout New Vegas. One of the cool parts about this is you could actually change his face to be any of the various faces you want, even like Mr. House or something weird like that. But I in particular like recreating Yes Man, and then you could have this guy follow you around. It really does take you back, because you'll realize you probably haven't seen one of these guys in like years, because I remember the first time I downloaded this mod, I felt that way. In addition, based on his customization options, he actually is quite powerful. He could, one, carry a bunch of your junk all the time, but in addition, you can equip him to have quite extensive firepower and definitely be a force to be reckoned with. And also, if you want to go the route of a full robot settlement, you can use him that way and just create a bunch of these and leave them at your settlement as settlers. It's a really cool mod, and I would say actually probably one of the most fun to use robot crafting mods out there right now. And last but not least, we have New Vegas Resurrection. What this is going to be is an ENB for Fallout 4. ENBs are only for PC, so sorry Xbox users, you will never be able to get this one. As you can hopefully tell, it's going to change some of the lighting effects in Fallout 4, and I think it makes the game, coupled with Dustball Overhaul, look very similar to New Vegas. It's kind of hard to put into words exactly why it looks so similar, but I just feel like when you look at this, when you look at the landscape this way, it takes me back. I think if you're a PC user and you really want to get a New New Vegas experience, using this mod along with Dustball Overhaul is probably one of the closest visual representations I've seen of New Vegas in Fallout 4. I think it looks awesome, and it is without a doubt a ton of fun to use. I definitely like the changes it makes to the game just in general, even if you're not going for a New Vegas look. And it's a really good way to kind of change up the feel of the game. Fallout 4 is a little bit brighter and happier looking, while New Vegas was a little bit more kind of with that rustic tone, and this is without a doubt bringing that back to the table. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you guys found this mod list to be helpful if you want to go for that New Vegas experience. Again, if you're looking for some more armors or weapons, just search up like NCR or Deadpool on either Bethesda.net or Nexus. And a lot of those mods are super popular anyway, while a lot of the ones on this list aren't as popular, so I figure you probably know about the other ones, and hopefully these are a little bit more helpful. Either way, before we end things off, we do have today's psychology fun fact of the day, and it's actually kind of a funny one. This actually comes from the census, which I didn't even know the census had like scientists analyzing the data and publishing it so readily. I mean, I guess that makes sense when I actually say it out loud, but I just didn't know that was a thing. So in families or relationships where the wife earns more than the husband, there's a tendency for the wife to downplay how much she earns and the husband to kind of overplay or upplay how much he earns. This is quite likely a result of social norms. When you actually think of men, people typically associate that with breadwinner. When you think of woman, people typically associate that with caretaker. You might be like, oh no, that's sexist. I mean, it might be, but that's like how many people feel. That's not a representation of my own thoughts. It's a representation of millions of people that live in America's thoughts. I personally found this one to be particularly interesting. It doesn't really have any impacts on the real world. It's just kind of an interesting representation of social norms in action. Either way, thank you all again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.